Jay here for Stretford Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, we're live. Get involved in the comments and the chat. We're going to be talking about all the latest Manchester United news, including these rumours, reports, stories regarding a takeover. Yes, we are back to takeover rumours here. Loads of people already in the chat. I'm going to crack on already, but I'll just give a little shout out to Chicoya Trot, Sandra Notch, Maurice Marshall, Bob Relf, Tyler Ward, Richard Allen. All good to see you people. Lovely people. Right. Let's get into it then. So, Man United up for sale, ? Saudi boxing supremo, Turki Al-Sheikh, claims Red Devils are in advanced stage of completing a deal to sell to a new investor and appears to aim a dig at the Glazers and Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Goes on to say there that Al-Sheikh, who is understood to be in talks with United over a potential friendly game during Riyadh season, posted a message on X or Twitter, if you want to call it that, on Wednesday night, suggesting that the club are ready to sell to a new investor. United's majority owners, the Glazer family, rejected a takeover by Sheikh Jassim Al Thani's Qatari consortium when they sold 27.7% of the club to Sir Jim Ratcliffe for $1.25 billion last year. But Al-Sheikh, the head of the General Entertainment Authority, responsible for bringing some of the world's highest profile sports events to Saudi Arabia, posted, "The best news I heard today is that Manchester United is now in an advanced stage of completing a deal to sell to a new investor. I hope he's better than the previous owners." Well, right, okay, so you can see there the post. Now, he obviously carries a little bit of weight in that neck of the woods, Turki Al-Sheikh. I think we've got a little bit of info on who he is. If we can bring up his Wikipedia page, because I didn't know a lot about this guy until recently. So, yeah, you can see he's chairman of the General Entertainment Authority, a Saudi government department, and an advisor at the Royal Court under the rank of minister. So, yeah, and it says here he's been described as a key on-the-ground operator in Saudi ruler Mohammed bin Salman's rise to power. He's obviously carries a lot of weight. He's been involved in a lot of promotion and boxing promotions that have gone on in Saudi as well. So you can understand why this has caused a bit of a stir. We've had it in the past, haven't we, where we've had, like, you can get rid of that, where we've had posts on X or tweets that have sent everyone into a frenzy, and it's sort of, when you unpick it all, it stems from some lad in his bedroom in Cardiff with about 200 followers. But this feels like someone who does carry a little bit more sort of weight over there, and he might know what he's on about. He might have some connections that have given him reason to think this, or he does have connections. So the question is he telling the truth or is he chatting nonsense? The honest answer is, I don't know. Let's be frank here. Who knows? There could be something in this, there could be nothing. I think this is only, if there does lead to something, this is going to be the sort of the initial point where you go, okay, he was the one that broke this story and it led to something. As it stands right now, I'm very sceptical. I am. I was sceptical last time when it was all the Sheikh Jassim thing. We kind of thought at one point, okay, there could be something in it. Then it was dragging on a little bit. There was these sort of reports that maybe the bid wasn't as much as they thought it was going to be. Then there was more reports that he didn't even have the money that we thought that he had. Then there was even rumours that he wasn't even real. We know this guy is real. I know that Sheikh Jassim is real. But whether he's spitting facts or he's talking nonsense remains to be seen. It opens up that whole debate as well, doesn't it? Do we want to be owned by a regime or part owned by a regime? If it is going to be a regime, do we want to be owned by a country? That's nothing against Saudi Arabia, but it's that whole thing about, is this sports washing? Are we sort of, owned by a nation that's got very questionable human rights records? And that goes for so many different countries. That I'm not sort of being prejudiced against Saudi Arabia. You could say that if we were owned by the British government, which I wouldn't want either. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. It just feels like, it's deja vu all over again, in it. Instead of discussing is Sheikh Jassim going to put a bid in, we're now saying whether Turki Al-Sheikh's tweet is real. It's, it's one of those, isn't it? We'll have to wait and see whether this leads to anything. I'm very, very doubtful it will, but this is Manchester United. We seem to be the sort of, at the forefront of unexpected things all the time. Akash K has been a member for 20 months of the first team. Do we expect the club to comment on this, given the New York Stock Exchange opens at 2:30 GMT? If it's legit, that is, of course. I saw some people on Twitter saying they have to comment on this. If it's a real bid, if there's a real move going on, then they have to legally comment on it because the New York Stock Exchange opens. Now, I don't know how accurate that is. I've seen a few people who I trust tweeting something like that, so we'll have to wait and see. At the moment, right, I don't want to sit here and just speculate and come up with more conjecture and more rumours and more, sort of try and do some sort of half-baked analysis of all this. We just don't know. This just might be one guy on one. Late, we'll just go, someone's going to buy him. He might just be making a bit of mischief, or he might have had some info. We just don't know. What we have to do is keep our eyes on it, see how it pans out, see what goes down, see if it leads to anything. We know that, obviously, I think they're in a position now where if someone was to come in, that people can bid on Manchester United. People can buy shares in Manchester United. Does that mean it's going to be a takeover? Does it mean they're going to buy part of it? I don't know. Does it mean nothing? We just don't know at the minute. Barely Jesus says, I am Saudi. Turki Al-Sheikh is one of the most prominent figures in Saudi. I don't think he would spit out nonsense. The Arabic doesn't quite indicate that Saudi will buy the club, but another investor. There we go. Thanks for clearing out Barely Jesus. So, again, there's a little bit of vagueness there into what exactly is he talking about. There's a good point there. If we go back to the tweet, we'll bring that up on the screen. So the best news I heard today is that Manchester United is now in an advanced stage of completing a deal to sell to a new investor. I hope he's better than the previous owners. Now, that's a good point that Barely Jesus made then. He's not specifically saying it's going to be a Saudi investor. However, with his connections to Saudi, you'd assume that's what he's on about, but he might not be. He might have spoken to someone else, or it might be nonsense. However, as Barely Jesus saying, he doesn't believe that this is nonsense. We'll have to wait and see. Let me know what you think. I mean, his timing's quite good, because I think there's a lot of people who are questioning Sir Jim Ratcliffe, aren't they, and going, well, has Ineos really delivered? Although I think the interview that Sir Jim Ratcliffe gave to the Business podcast, where he backed Ruben Amorim, I think most people from what I saw like the fact he was coming out and supporting the manager, but on the whole, there's been a bit of a mixed bag on it since Ineos took over. The football's been dreadful and chaotic. All the cuts haven't gone down too well. But there are, reports that maybe Manchester United financially are moving in the right direction, and that's what Sir Jim Ratcliffe initially was here to do. Plus, he has put some of his own money into the club, which is something the Glazers never really did. So it's ups and downs. It depends how you sort of view it. I don't think he's universally popular, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, nor Ineos, but I do think there's a lot of people who think he's done some good for Manchester United. Let me know what you think. Get involved in the chat and the comments. We'll have to wait and see what happens here. Number 7 says, Jay, as a shareholder, are you keeping secrets from us for your own profit? That is a very good question there. I need to check on my shares, actually. I've not checked. Well, when I say share, I mean my £17.20's worth of Manchester United shares. And I don't know if you can see that. Is that, you see? Yeah. There you go. So it says today, 0%. Yeah, nothing's changed. And then you can see some green lines there, up and down. I don't know what that means. I don't know. Green's usually good in it, with money and that. Yeah? Money be green. Yeah? As they say in The Wire. So I'll keep you posted. If my £17.20 becomes £17.40, we may be in business. You understand what I'm saying? If someone wants to make me an offer of £17.40, let's talk. Speak to my broker. That's me. Enough of this nonsense. Let's talk about Joshua Zirkzee. So it says here, Everton and West Ham on alert for Zirkzee. I think this is from United District. According to the British media. There you go. All-encompassing term there. The British media have told us that Everton and West Ham are looking at Joshua Zirkzee. Be interesting to see if an English club did come in for Zirkzee. He's been linked with a move back to Italy, where obviously he did very well for Bologna. He's Dutch. He's been linked with, I think, with a move back to Holland. Could he end up, though, staying in the Premier League? Would someone take a punt on him? The problem with Zirkzee is he feels like a bit of a luxury player. He feels like someone who's good on the ball, he's good to watch, he passes the eye test in terms of you're watching him, you go, yeah, look at him, he's got that bit of swagger, he can go past the player, he can keep hold of the ball nicely, but he doesn't score a lot of goals, and he doesn't create a lot of goals, and it's just what sort of team could he do well in? Ironically, I think he could do well in one of the more successful teams. I think if you had Joshua Zirkzee as an option at somewhere like City, and he was like, playing a few games for them, I think he'd actually do quite well because he's got players around him that score loads of goals and stuff. I think when you go down the league and he's at, say, if he did go to Everton, they'd probably want him to produce more goals than what he does. Ditto for West Ham. So I don't know. It's a weird one with Joshua Zirkzee. And also, look, I'm not saying that, no disrespect to United District, but I don't treat this as gospel. It's just an interesting talking point, isn't it? Let me know what you think. Zirkzee is a popular figure at Manchester United, isn't he? I think there's a lot of fans that like Joshua Zirkzee. Me and Joe were talking about this last night, though. Is he going to get much of a look in? Because he's not a 9. He's a 9.5, which is nonsense. He's a 10. You've got Mbeumo, you've got Cunha, you've also got Mason Mount, who now starts for Manchester United in the 10. Up front, you've got Benjamin Sesko. Maybe if Sesko picks up a knock, you could put Zirkzee there because it doesn't look like we've got loads of options there. However, you can also play Bryan Mbeumo there. I don't know. He's not played a lot of minutes, has he, Joshua Zirkzee? It is a World Cup year, so he's got a World Cup, the year before a World Cup year. So we'll have to wait and see. Dot Rock says, Jay-Z is a diamond in the rough. Brown Knight says, imagine Jack Grealish crossing it in for Joshua Zirkzee, header, limbs. They would be quite entertaining, wouldn't they? Watching Joshua Zirkzee and Jack Grealish in the same team. It would, but, we'll wait and see whether anything actually comes of that. What else have you got for us? Right, this is a story that is complete nonsense, which is how I like to preface every story we cover. So Nigel Farage set to meet with Man United owner after Gary Neville's white men comments. You think, crikey, what's going on here? So it says here, Manchester United co-owner Sir Jim Ratcliffe has confirmed he will meet with Reform UK leader Nigel Farage following Gary Neville's angry middle-aged white men comments. So misleading that. This is so misleading. Right. So we'll go through this fully. So this is Nigel Farage. He's set for a surprise meeting with Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Ratcliffe, who founded and holds the majority stake in Ineos, in Ineos. He's known in sporting circles for owning French club Nice, and since February 2024, his minority stake in the Red Devils. Keep going. The 72-year-old is 7th richest man in Britain, and as one of the country's wealthiest figures, he has announced his plans to meet Reform UK leader Farage sometime before December. Speaking on the business podcast, this is where all the quotes that have been doing the rounds have come from regarding his backing of Ruben Amorim. The billionaire revealed, I'm meeting with Nigel Farage before Christmas. He asked for the meeting. I have met with Kemi Badenoch, so we've had a hearing. But when questioned about possibly donating money to Reform or any other political party, Radcliffe emphasised his neutrality, stating, I've always been neutral on political parties. I've never really had a preference one way or another. I just want one that runs the country well. I can't see myself paying for policies. It's not my style. Then goes on to say, on Keir Starmer, I think he's a reasonable bloke. He's a nice man and he's well-meaning, but I'm just not sure it's easy to manage his party. This is not a criticism because I do like him, but we have to make some tough decisions, and maybe he's a bit too nice. And then it goes on to say it comes after United legend Gary Neville's recent comments about angry middle-aged white men. So it's not really related to that. It's got nothing to do with that, but the headline makes it look as though it is, which is a bit weird anyway, because why would Sir Jim Ratcliffe meet with Nigel Farage over something that Gary Neville had said? Gary Neville isn't even an employee of Ineos. He's got his own thing going on. So it just seems like people trying to do a little bit of mischief making. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm sick of all the fallout, the backlash, the meltdown over what Gary Neville said. I really am. I'm fed up with it. Gary Neville shared his opinion on what he thinks is going on. He's entitled to it. But it was how many days ago now was it? And we're still having this sort of, just meltdown over it. And people just can't seem to move past it. We know Gary Neville has a lot of opinions. We know he has a lot of political opinions. Some I agree with, some I don't. But it's not the be-all and end-all when Gary Neville gives you his opinion on something, but people are acting like, he's about to sort of come up with some new policy we've all got to abide by. He shared his opinion. If you agree with it, great. If you don't agree with it, fair enough. But it's just never ending, all this nonsense about it. It's time to move on for everyone. Pereira on the facilities. Andreas Pereira, you may remember him from the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer era, says, I played for Man United and their facilities are worse than in Brazil. Very nice, isn't it? Andreas Pereira has taken a swipe at Manchester United's training facilities in an interview since joining Palmeiras with Cristiano Ronaldo, having also criticised them in the past. So he's obviously, it's pretty self-explanatory there, isn't it? He was unimpressed with the facilities at Manchester United. We know there's a lot of talk, a lot of discussion around the facilities at Manchester United. We know we're having a revamp of Carrington. We know at the minute there's still some temporary stuff going on in terms of, I think it was some of the academy lads having to change in port cabins or whatever it was, or the under-13s. There's also been some criticism about the staff cuts because litter and the toilet's not getting cleaned. We know all that. However, Pereira, who left before all this was happening, has said that the facilities weren't good enough. Or he said that the facilities now are better at Palmeiras than at Manchester United when he was there. I mean, okay, whatever. Let me know what you think about all this. Get involved in the chat and the comments. And don't forget as well to hit like. Give us a like, please, people. You might not like some of the stories, but you can like the video. And if you've not done so already, please subscribe to the channel. Let's talk about one of my favourite topics, Bryan Mbeumo. So he came off the bench to score for Cameroon in a crucial 2-0 away win at Mauritius. Our August Player of the Month has made a good start to life at Old Trafford and found the back of the net in stoppage time of the World Cup qualifier as his involvement kicked off the Reds in action for their countries during the break. He's done quite well, hasn't he, Bryan Mbeumo, since he's come to United. He's not scored loads of goals and got loads of assists, but he has done well. And he's exciting to watch, and I think he's fitted in really sort of effortlessly into Ruben Amorim's team. And it's always good to see players doing well for the country while they're away on international break. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Bryan Mbeumo against Liverpool, to be honest with you. I think if we are going to have any chance of getting anything at Anfield, a lot of it is going to be down to Bryan Mbeumo. We need him to turn up for that game. We need him to sort of cause Liverpool problems, and I think he will. I think he's capable of it. So, yeah, I like what I've seen from Bryan Mbeumo so far. Matheus Cunha has done well as well. Hasn't quite done as well as Bryan Mbeumo has, if that makes sense. And I don't think he'll start Anfield, Matheus Cunha. I think that's as much a credit to Mason Mount rather than anything else. But Bryan Mbeumo, yeah, he's certainly been a very good player for Manchester United, and he's just carried on his form that we saw, or his performances that we saw at Brentford. I know he's not getting as many goals, but he's doing very well. And it's quite ironic, isn't it, when you think about it? Because I think at Brentford, his penalty record was very good. Obviously, we've got a good penalty taker, Bruno Fernandes, but he's missed a couple this season. And I just wonder whether there's any sort of conversations that have gone on between those two. It's not just, the penalty thing I get, look, Bruno Fernandes has taken loads of penalties for Manchester United, scored loads of penalties. His record overall for Manchester United is fantastic, even though this season it's been underwhelming. Just with free kicks at times, I think we should let maybe Bryan Mbeumo have a few more of them, especially ones that favour a left footer. I thought that for a while with Ahmad. I'd like to see Ahmad taking more free kicks that favour a left footer. What do you think? Get involved in the chat in the comments. Enter the Void says, it's disgraceful what Neville said, Jay. Wake up. Calm down. Chill out. Get over it. Seriously. Cristian Orozco. Let's talk about him. This is from Steve Bartram. I think Steve was one of the ones that used to work at United. He shows the signals of a top world-class player. So he's speaking about this lad we've bought in, the Colombian midfielder, and he's likened him to Moises Caicedo. So he spoke to a former Manchester United scout who has likened this lad to Moises Caicedo. We had this thing, didn't we, with Moises Caicedo, where Manchester United were going to sign Moises Caicedo under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. We didn't. We apparently couldn't get that deal over the line, maybe because he was a third-party ownership and we didn't fancy it. But eventually goes to Brighton, does really well and smashes it, and then he goes to Chelsea for like 100 million. There was this argument or this debate going on, or this idea that maybe Manchester United should be trying to get the Moises Caicedo types of players before they get the move to the Brightons or the Bournemouths or wherever, and we have to spend big money on them. Can we start getting these youngsters in early? This feels like what we're trying to do with Nicolas Orozco, obviously being compared to Caicedo. We'll have to wait and see. I'm not going to pretend that I know much about him. This scout is saying he's got the profile, tools, physique, mentality. The club made a fantastic decision to sign him, and then he needs time, patience, and a little bit of luck. So we'll have to wait and see how that pans out. I would love to see him become the next Moises Caicedo. I would love Manchester United to be able to go out and buy these young players at an early age, develop them, and then become the type of player that Moises Caicedo's become, because he's fantastic. He had a bit of a up and down spell at first when he initially got to Chelsea, and now he's just flying in. He's just smashing it. He's such a good player for them. So we'll have to wait and see. But feels like it makes a lot of sense, that, doesn't it? I'm going to be back later on today with Off the Bar. myself, Joe Smith, and Stephen Howson for that one. So if you're not doing so already, make sure you are subscribing to the channel so you don't miss out on any of that. Also, we will keep you updated with what goes on with the Saudi links. Go on, we've got a Bruno story. He doesn't want to go to Saudi. Yeah, share that with me. It's in the right. I've got a little bit of, sorry, we're not going anywhere. Forgive me, I did look in the huddle, I just missed it. Right, so Simon Stone from, so this is, he only tweeted this 10 minutes ago, from the BBC, says, exclusive, Bruno Fernandes not interested in Saudi. You can see it. Fully committed to Man United, thinks they can still finish in the top 5. If he ends up leaving, it will be for a club in Europe. I don't need to go into that article because, well, we can do, but we get it. That's the sort of, the details are there. I agree with this from Bruno. And I said this last night on Paddock Live, and I've said it ever since he was linked with a move for Saudi. He's too good to be going to Saudi right now. He's got a lot to offer. I want him to stay at Manchester United because I think he's fantastic. I know there's a lot of people saying we should have sold him, we should have got the money for him. Look, that's a debate that's going to rage on, and we'll never know whether we should have. I'm glad we didn't. I like Bruno Fernandes. I'm glad we kept him. You can argue all you want that we could have gone out and we could have bought a Carlos Baleba or we could have done whatever. Maybe you're right and we could have done that. Who knows, though, if that had massively improved Manchester United, it certainly would have been, more of a long-term option. But I think if you can keep Bruno Fernandes, you should do. And I think you can have your cake and eat it. I think we can go out and get a midfielder next summer, regardless of whether Bruno Fernandes stays or not. I just don't think a player of the calibre of Bruno Fernandes should be playing in the Saudi Arabian League. No disrespect to it, but he's far too good for it. And he's still got a lot to offer. And we need him. Yeah, so I'm glad he's not moving on. I'm glad he's staying. We'll have to wait and see if that stays the same, if there's another offer that comes in and changes his mind. But this is going to be a really unpopular comment here. But you know what? There's more to life than money. There really is. He's not skint. He's earning decent money at Manchester United. And who knows, he could actually help us start winning titles again, eventually. Who knows, maybe Project 2028 will be the one. So let me know what you think. Bob Rell says, thanks, Jay. I love Bruno. Brown Knight says, Baleba has been poor this season. Dan United 94 says, Jay, please grow your hair until United win 87 games in a row. Yep, I'm happy to do that. Vic says, I could picture Bruno in an Atletico Madrid shirt so clearly. Maybe. I just want him to stay at Manchester United, to be honest with you. I think that'd be preferable. To me, personally, I still like Bruno Fernandes, and I think he's very good. I think his record at Manchester United speaks for itself. We're going to be back later on with Off the Bar. Me, Howson, Joe Smith. So if you're not doing so already, hit like, share, and subscribe. I'm Jay Moy. This has been The Paper Talk. Thanks for watching.